if you think that movie fans, the horror community, Star Wars fans, all these people are toxic communities, look at the PlayStation versus Xbox video game community. My plastic box is better than yours. It is the stupidest fucking thing in the world, and the shit that people get mad about. This is just a quick little story, and this has done the rounds already. And all right, for a little bit of backstory for those of you that aren't as familiar in the video game space, Microsoft, which owns Xbox, has a service called Game Pass, and I've talked about this before. It's the Netflix of games, pretty much. You don't stream them. You can, but you download them. And you pay a monthly service. You get this big, huge amount, hundreds and hundreds of games. It's been called the best value in gaming and all this. And it is. It's a great service. I have subscribed to it since it began. I think it's a really good service. PlayStation faithfuls, the toxic side of the PlayStation fandom, have talked shit about Game Pass since day one. It's ruining gaming and all this and that and blah, blah, blah. PlayStation would never do this. Well, this past year, PlayStation did that, and they've actually had a streaming service for a while, but it just wasn't that good. But they rebranded it and re-released it here recently, PlayStation Plus. That's their Game Pass equivalent. Most people say that while it's a solid service, it's still not up to the same level that Xbox Game Pass is. There was a big story we did a week ago, I think it was, where with Microsoft's trying to buy, or is buying, Activision Blizzard, PlayStation came forth and had comments about that. One of the things was they have Game Pass, essentially they have Game Pass, and we can't. It would take us years to get to the point to where they are. My comments on that were, and that's not their fault. You should have fucking struck earlier. I mean, people were asking you to do it a long time ago. It's not the other company's fault because they did this thing better. You did plenty of things better, and nobody said it's not fair that Microsoft can't, have that, with the PlayStation 4, you fucking murdered them. So people can't say, well, the PlayStation 5 shouldn't be successful because the Xbox didn't have the same amount of time, blah, 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 all that bullshit. Well, now we're finding out that through some filings, I think that did surround that whole thing with the Brazilian government, some stuff is coming out. Microsoft alleged, but then some new reports have come out, new actual evidence, that apparently Sony has been blocking Game Pass games with companies with contracts and stuff like that. Now, I'm of two minds on this, but here's what I got for it. It says Microsoft has claimed that Sony has paid blocking rights to developers to prevent their games from being added to Game Pass. Now, Game Pass has all of Microsoft's own studios games on there day one, but they also get third-party, Capcom with Resident Evil and Assassin's Creed from Ubisoft, things like that. They pay developers money or publishers money to put their games on their service. Make up for, hey, you're not getting any money for it being on the service. We pay you amount, you put it on here, our people get it. That gets people, incentivizes them to want to come over. So they're saying that Sony has been paying these companies not to put their titles on Game Pass. Microsoft's ability to continue expanding this is from Microsoft as well. Microsoft's ability to continue expanding Game Pass has been hampered by Sony's desire to inhibit such growth. Microsoft claimed in its to the Administrative Council for Economic Defense. I didn't even know that was a thing. Sony pays for blocking rights to prevent developers from adding content to Game Pass and other competing subscription services. People are up in arms about this, and they're like, that is terrible that they're doing that, and blah, 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 and blah, that they're paying companies not to put it on their platform. It'll be like multi-platform things, such as Resident Evil Village was one of them they were talking about, actually. Sony apparently, and they found documents about this, they apparently went to Capcom and said, hey, because Village is on all the platforms. It's on the Xbox, it's on the PlayStation, but Xbox wanted it on Game Pass because that's a big win. Sony went to them and said, hey, we're going to pay you X amount of money not to have the game exclusive to our console, which they'll do that too, but just to not put it on their console or on their service, not their console. So they can't offer it for free on their service. And people are like, that's shitty. And I do think that's shitty. I think that's fucked up. I mean, why you're going to pay money not to have it on yours, but just to keep it off of other people's? That's, what the fuck? That's shitty. If you have faith in your console, let the other ones have them do whatever they're going to do. However, this is nothing new. This is things that console makers have been doing for years. And Sony is the biggest offender when it comes to this. But Microsoft's not, they'll do it too. I mean, Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider, they paid for a year exclusivity, which is essentially the same thing. It kept it off of the other consoles for at least 1 year, the first year. People jumped their ever-living shit about that and were like, I can't believe they're paying to have 1 year exclusivity. I'm like, but they never say anything about the other companies when they do this. And when I say other companies, mainly Sony. Sony is notorious for coming in and paying Square Enix to not put Final Fantasy VII Remake on Xbox, but only on theirs. And now they're doing this, which is essentially the same thing. It's keeping it off of a platform of sorts. They're notorious for doing that. They've done that with a lot of different properties to keep exclusivity for third-party releases only on their platform. And nobody had anything to say. Now, people got something to say. They're like, I can't believe they're doing this. It's like, they've been fucking doing this. What are you talking about? Why are you're mad now? You were writing Microsoft about doing it, and they've done it with some other titles too. But like I said, Sony is just notorious for it. Me, myself, personally, it's fair game. It's business. If they want to offer their money for shit not to show up on another service, I enjoy the Game Pass service, but hey, it's free commerce. It's fair business. No, it's kind of like love and war. You know, nothing's off limits in business, in my opinion. I think it's kind of shady, but I'm not gonna really fault them for it. Even though I prefer the Game Pass model, Microsoft can go and offer money for them to put it on there. So I think that I'm not gonna rake them over the coals for it. Like I said, I think it's shady, but I'm not gonna rake them over the coals for it. But people are really up in arms about this. What do you guys think about? How do you take all this in? I'll go to you next first because I know you.
Yeah, yeah. Exclusivity has always been a thing in video games. It's been a thing since, as far back as we can remember. Look at Epic Games. Epic Games does this shit all the time, and I don't know. Like, I'm at a point where I don't even like playing video games anymore because they're just a pain in the ass. And I understand why you go back to old school games, because at least you can go back and play without issues. But this is just the nonsense that keeps me from playing video games. It's like, so I can't play on Xbox Game Pass because PlayStation's a bunch of little bitches. And it's just not fun. And then on top of that, you have to pay for all this shit like DLC and magic boxes or loot boxes. And I know Triv, you're not big into the gaming world, but it's like a shitstorm right now in the video game culture.
It sounds like it. World. And
it is.
If you ever get a chance, go look at fucking, was it Activision or EA or whatever it is, and all the shit that they went through, the female gamers and stuff like that.
If you think that
Gamergate,
movie fans, the horror community, Star Wars fans, all these people are toxic communities, look at the PlayStation versus Xbox video game community. My plastic box is better than yours. It is the stupidest fucking thing in the world, and the shit that people get mad about. And admittedly, right now, I prefer the Xbox ecosystem over the PlayStation one, but I have all of them and I play all of them. I enjoy games as a whole. I don't toxic fanboy for anything. That's my preferred platform. But really, I mean, hell, I streamed a PlayStation 5 game. It was on PC, but I mean, it was one of their games. I don't care who's releasing stuff, but I mean, the PlayStation fans in the past few years, when I say not fans, I hate saying that, the toxic fans, man, they are fucking bad. You find countless videos about the crazy dumbass shit these motherfuckers say. It's ridiculous. If I was just I'm a PlayStation fan like anybody else. I'm an Xbox fan. It pisses me off that, like, look, you're making me not want to be a fan because you're so fucking toxic. It's similar to the whole Star Wars fandom thing. But just based on the information that you have here, does this strike you as like shady, or are you just like, it's whatever, it's business as usual?
There's two sides to it. So from the perspective of, okay, look at streaming. Like Disney stuff or whatever it is, they have exclusive rights to put their shit wherever they get paid to put it. But to hold back and be like, well, we are requiring you as a developer to stay with us for a year and we're going to pay you this money. but it's going to tank your reputation in the community amongst all these other people. There's every game has those things that set it apart from everything else. But if someone's not going to be able to get that game when it comes out, I feel like a lot of folks are just going to be like, well, I used to be a fan of this, but I'm not going to wait a year to play it, and I don't want it to be spoiled, because spoilers, I'm sure, in video games are the same as they are in movies, from that perspective. So, I'll find, and obviously you have loyalty towards certain things, especially if you've played through all of the previous incarnations of it, but I feel like it's a way to lose a lot of people long term, for short-term gains.
Well, they're hoping that you will move. If you're an
Wait that
Xbox
out.
fan and they get something that you can't have, and now this is a platform within a platform. Granted,
Right.
is what we're talking about specifically here. But the whole exclusivity thing is, they're hoping that if they if they have more exclusives over there on their side, then you'll go over there. You'll buy their stuff. I don't know. Maybe it's shown that exclusives don't really sell consoles. The exclusives are never like the top selling consoles or games in consoles typically. Like it's usually these like Call of Duty and stuff like that. What I found interesting about this whole thing though is that Sony is essentially this whole filing that they did in Brazil. And what's big about this is that all these things, Brazil's government, the way they do things, everything's public. So everything they said in this Brazilian FTC version filings, everybody could see. Now, the stuff over here, we don't see that stuff. Everywhere else, we don't see that, or it's not as readily available. So that's what's these comments they're making. They may have been making them across the world with all the other trade commissions, but this one is very public, and everybody picked up on it. One of Sony's big things was it's not fair, if you will, that they could possibly have exclusivity to these games that this big company that they're buying, Microsoft is buying Activision, that they're going to have exclusivity to it. We can't compete with that. It's not fair that they have exclusivity to that game, or they could. They're talking about Call of Duty. But then they turn around and do this shit where they just pay for exclusivity on their platform, or to keep things off of a platform within their platform, whatever. They're paying for exclusivity, and they do that a lot. But they're bitching about it's not fair that they could have exclusivity to this. Make up your fucking mind. Which is it? Is exclusivity okay, or is it not okay? Because they kind of hold their hat or hang their hat on that whole exclusive PlayStation titles. If that's the case, make everybody can have everything across the board. You can't. It's kind of like a cake and eat it thing. I mean, they're bitching about exclusivity and like how it's like they want exclusivity. It's okay if we have exclusivity, and they're hardcore toxic fans are like this. It's okay if we have exclusivity and if we're doing well, but not the other guy. But we do want to bitch about how they're not doing well and say you need to do better. It makes no fucking sense to me.
Well, and if it was inside of their own, because they're trying to influence other like developers, so it's not within Sony, it's external developers, right?
Yes.
So that it seems like they're trying to push their weight around, like, hey, we're the big guys, you better listen to us, otherwise we're gonna, screw you over hardcore. Like, it's one thing to, manage business in your own, but where you're talking outside of that, yeah, that's kind of, I don't know. It feels shitty.
Well, and I get if you own a company, their shit's exclusive to your console or whatever it is, your platform. That makes sense. I mean, you own them. Why would you put them on another console? And that's the crazy thing is Microsoft's even saying, hey, we're going to own Call of Duty, but we'll still put it on your console. We're going to get money for it, but we'll still put it out there so your fans can enjoy it. I mean,
Right.
How long they'll do that, who knows? But they're saying that, yeah, we'll still put it out. And they're still bitching. Like, Jesus. Because they're bitching that, okay, it's still going to be on all the consoles. We'll still have it. Woof, that's good. #1 selling game for the past, 10 goddamn years. We're still going to have access to. But it's going to be free on your platform. That's not fair. Because obviously people are going to pick your platform because it's free over there. Well, no shit. That's not their fault. I don't know. But there's not a lot more to say about this. And everybody's already kind of said it all. But I just thought, I just saw this, and it's very hypocritical. And it's not just Sony themselves. Honestly, Sony's a fucking company. They're there to make money. I get they're making money. Like I said, I don't blame them. If they're paying for exclusivity either on their console or to keep things off of Microsoft's platform or their platform within a platform, Business is business, man. Shady or not, Microsoft has the option to come in and say, well, we'll counter your deal and pay you this or whatever, or they could do the same thing with other things. That's their they can do that. Nothing is off limits. But it's still kind of shady in my opinion. It's the fans, they're the ones that fuel this shit, and they're the toxic fans. I keep saying fans, I mean toxic fans. They're fucking ridiculous.